Ever feel like your emotions are running the show? Hey there, have you ever found yourself smack in the middle of something huge, like a job interview where your dream gig is on the line, a first date with someone who makes your heart skip, or even just a big presentation in front of a room full of people, and suddenly, bam, your nerves decide to hijack the whole show? One minute you're feeling confident, and the next, your palms are a sweaty mess. Your words are tripping over each other like they're in a race they can't win, and it's like you're just a passenger in your own body. You're watching your racing heart pound against your chest, your chaotic thoughts spinning out of control, and it feels like there's no off switch. It's a wild ride, right? That roller coaster of emotions can leave you breathless, maybe even a little embarrassed, wondering how you let it get this far. And honestly, it can feel like there's no escape, like you're trapped, at the mercy of this emotional storm that's taken over the driver's seat. But what if I told you that thousands of years ago, some of the sharpest minds in history cracked the code on staying cool as a cucumber, even when life threw its absolute worst at them? We're talking about the Stoics, those ancient philosophers from Greece and Rome who didn't just grit their teeth and survive the pressure, they turned it into something they could thrive on. Picture this: emperors facing wars, slaves overcoming unimaginable hardship, all finding a way to keep their inner peace when the world around them was falling apart. And today, we're going on a journey back in time to uncover their secrets. Secrets that aren't just dusty old ideas, but practical tools you can use right now to take back control, no matter what life tosses your way. Whether it's a tough boss, a tricky relationship, or just the everyday stress that piles up, these ancient tricks can help you step into the driver's seat again. So, if you've ever felt like your emotions are the ones calling the shots, running the show while you're left scrambling to keep up, and you're ready for a change, stick with me. This isn't about pretending those feelings don't exist or turning into some emotionless robot. It's about learning how to handle them, to guide them, so you can live life on your terms. I've been there, feeling like my nerves were staging a takeover during a big moment, and finding these Stoic insights changed everything for me. And I bet they can do the same for you. So, if you're vibing with this, feeling that spark of curiosity, hit that like button to let me know, and share this video with someone who could use a little calm in their own storm. Maybe it's a friend who's been stressed out lately, or a family member who could use a boost. Let's spread the wisdom together. Now, let's dive in and see how these ancient tricks can transform your life, one deep breath at a time. Imagine for a moment that you're not just reacting to every little thing that comes your way. Picture yourself walking into that interview or that date with a steady confidence, knowing you've got the tools to handle whatever hits. That's what we're building toward today. The Stoics didn't have smartphones or Zoom calls to deal with, but they faced challenges that make our modern stresses look tame: political intrigue, battles, personal loss, and they came out stronger. Their secret: they figured out how to master their minds, not by fighting their emotions, but by working with them. And we're about to unpack that step by step. Let's start by thinking about those moments when your emotions feel like they're in charge. Maybe it's that time you snapped at someone because you were running late, or when you froze during a conversation because your anxiety kicked in. It's natural to feel that way. Our brains are wired to react fast, a leftover from when dodging a saber-toothed tiger was a daily concern. But here's the thing: that wiring doesn't always fit our lives now. Today, it's more likely to be a missed deadline or a rude email setting off that alarm bell in your head. The Stoics saw this too, and they realized that the key isn't to stop the bell from ringing, it's to decide what to do when it does. They taught that emotions are like messengers, bringing news about what's happening inside and around us. Sometimes that news is helpful, like a warning to pay attention, but other times, it's just noise we don't need to act on. So, how did they do it? How did these ancient thinkers turn panic into power? It starts with a shift in perspective. The Stoics believed that our reactions, those knee-jerk responses we sometimes regret, can be tamed. They didn't try to erase fear or anger. They learned to pause and choose how to move forward. I've tried this myself, and let me tell you, it's a game changer. There was a time when I'd let a coworker's offhand comment throw me off for hours, my mind spinning with frustration. But then I started taking a moment to breathe, to ask myself, is this worth my energy? And slowly, I found I could let it go, turning that energy towards something positive instead. That's the Stoic way, using your mind to guide your heart, not the other way around. And that's just the beginning. Over the next few minutes, we're going to explore how these ancient strategies can work for you. Whether you're dealing with a tough day at work, a personal setback, or just the everyday chaos of life. We'll talk about practical tools you can start using today, stories from Stoic legends like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, and how this mindset can build a resilience that sticks with you. Imagine waking up feeling ready to face anything, knowing you've got a toolbox of wisdom to lean on. That's what we're aiming for, and I'm excited to take you there. But before we go deeper, let's set the stage. This journey isn't about perfection, it's about progress. The Stoics weren't superhumans. They were people like us, figuring things out one step at a time. They faced their own storms, wars, betrayals, loss, and came out with insights that still hold up. And the best part? You don't need to be a philosopher to use them. All it takes is a willingness to try, to experiment with these ideas and see what fits. I've stumbled along the way, forgetting to pause, letting my temper flare, but each time I've learned, and that's what keeps me going. So, let's do this together. Grab a comfy spot, take a deep breath with me, and let's step into the world of the Stoics, where every challenge becomes a chance to grow stronger. Ready? Let's get started. The emotional roller coaster. Why we feel out of control. Picture this for a moment. Pause and really imagine it. You're sitting across from someone you desperately want to impress. Maybe it's a first date, a job interview, or a meeting with someone you admire. Everything's going fine until, out of nowhere, your stomach does a flip. Your heart starts pounding like it's trying to escape your chest, your palms get sweaty, and your mind begins racing with a million thoughts at once. It's as if you've been swept up in a whirlwind, unable to find your footing. Sound familiar? If you're nodding, you're not alone. We've all been there, caught in the grip of emotions that seem to take over without warning. It's like an overeager friend who means well but doesn't know when to take a step back. Emotions aren't the villain in this story. They're trying to help, sending signals to protect us from danger, celebrate our victories, or deepen our connections with the people we care about. But here's the catch. Sometimes they overstep their bounds, drowning out the calm, logical part of our brain. It's like an old-school alarm bell blaring in your head, loud, urgent, and completely oblivious to the fact that you're trying to keep it together. So, why do we feel so out of control when emotions take the wheel? To understand this, we need to dive into the fascinating, and sometimes frustrating way our brains are wired. Our emotional responses are rooted in an ancient system designed for survival. Back when our ancestors were dodging predators or fighting to protect their tribes, emotions were like a built-in radar, alerting them to threats or opportunities in an instant. That racing heart, it was pumping blood to muscles for a quick escape. That surge of adrenaline, it sharpened focus for the fight ahead. In those moments, emotions didn't just help, they were lifesavers. But fast forward to today, and that same wiring is still running the show, even though our challenges have changed. Instead of saber-toothed cats, we're navigating emails, deadlines, and social pressures. The problem? Our brains haven't gotten the memo. That ancient alarm system still kicks into high gear, treating a harsh email or an awkward conversation like a life-or-death situation. When emotions fire up, they often outpace our rational mind, leaving us scrambling to catch up. It's like trying to use a flip phone in the age of smartphones, functional, but not exactly built for the task at hand. This mismatch between our wiring and our world is at the heart of why emotions can feel so overwhelming. When you're in that whirlwind, it's because your brain's amygdala, the emotional control center, has hijacked the show. It's fast, automatic, and doesn't wait for your prefrontal cortex, the rational, decision-making part of your brain, to weigh in. This is why you might snap at someone in anger before you've had a chance to think or feel a wave of anxiety before you even know what's wrong. It's not that emotions are bad, they're just doing their job a little too enthusiastically. The good news? You don't have to be a prisoner to this alarm system. You can't rewire your brain entirely, but you can learn to work with it, turning down the volume on that alarm and regaining control. This is where the Stoics come in, and their wisdom is as relevant today as it was over 2,000 years ago. The Stoics, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, didn't see emotions as the enemy to be crushed or ignored. Instead, they viewed them as signals to be understood and managed. For them, the goal wasn't to eliminate emotions, because, let's face it, that's impossible, but to master how you respond to them. They believed that while you can't always control what happens to you, or how your body reacts, you can control your thoughts and actions. This is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, focusing on what's within your power and letting go of what isn't. When it comes to emotions, this means acknowledging the signal, that racing heart, that knot in your stomach, without letting it dictate your behavior. So, how do you actually do this? Let's break it down with some practical steps inspired by Stoic principles and modern psychology. First, pause and breathe. When you feel that emotional whirlwind starting, take a moment to slow down. Deep, intentional breaths can calm your nervous system, giving your rational brain a chance to catch up. It's like hitting the pause button on that blaring alarm. Next, name the emotion. Simply identifying what you're feeling, anger, fear, excitement, can reduce its intensity. This is because labeling an emotion engages your prefrontal cortex, shifting some control back to the rational part of your brain. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm freaking out," try saying, "I'm feeling anxious because of this meeting." It's a small shift, but it creates distance between you and the emotion, making it easier to manage. Once you've named the emotion, question it. The Stoics were big on examining their thoughts, and you can do the same. Ask yourself, is this emotion based on something real, or is my brain overreacting? Is this situation as urgent as it feels? Often, you'll find that the alarm is louder than it needs to be. For instance, that harsh email might feel like a personal attack, but maybe the sender was just having a bad day. By challenging the emotion, you're not dismissing it, you're putting it in perspective. Finally, choose your response. This is where the Stoic idea of focusing on what's in your control really shines. You can't stop your heart from racing, but you can decide whether to snap back in anger or walk away and cool off. You can't eliminate anxiety, but you can choose to prepare thoroughly for that big presentation instead of spiraling. The key is to act in alignment with your values, not your impulses. As Epictetus famously said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you'll never feel overwhelmed again. It's not about becoming an emotionless robot or pretending everything's fine. It's about building a mental toolkit to navigate the roller coaster without derailing. Over time, these practices, pausing, naming, questioning, and choosing, become second nature, like muscle memory for your mind. You'll start to notice the alarm bells before they get too loud, and you'll feel more in control, even when life throws curveballs. The beauty of this approach is that it works in any situation, whether you're dealing with a stressful workday, a heated argument, or those butterflies before a big moment. Emotions will always be part of the human experience. They're what make life vibrant, messy, and meaningful. But by learning to work with them, rather than letting them run the show, you can ride the roller coaster with a little more grace and a lot more confidence. So, the next time your heart starts pounding or your mind starts racing, take a deep breath, channel your inner Stoic, and remember, you've got this. The Stoic secret: mastering your reactions, not your feelings. Let's take a step back in time, pause for a moment, and imagine yourself in the bustling streets of ancient Greece or the grand halls of Rome. Here, a group of brilliant thinkers known as the Stoics turned life's chaos into a classroom for wisdom. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus didn't just ponder life, they dissected it, offering insights that remain strikingly relevant today. Their secret: it's not about wrestling your emotions into submission or trying to stop them from showing up. Instead, it's about mastering your reactions to those emotions. Picture this: you can't stop the rain from pouring down, but you can choose whether to grab an umbrella, stay inside, or dance in the deluge. The Stoics believed that while we can't always control when emotions hit or how intensely they strike, we have absolute power over what we do next. That choice, how you respond, is where the magic happens. The goal isn't to become an emotionless robot, stripped of feeling. Far from it. It's about pausing, taking a breath, and responding in a way that aligns with the person you want to be, the values you hold, and the life you want to lead. This Stoic insight is deceptively simple but profoundly powerful. Emotions are like uninvited guests. They show up, sometimes without warning, and they don't always play nice. Anger might flare up when someone cuts you off in traffic. Anxiety might creep in before a big presentation. Joy might bubble over when you get good news. The Stoics didn't see these feelings as enemies to be banished. They saw them as natural, human, and even useful, as signals that something in your world needs attention. The trick lies in not letting those signals hijack your behavior. Instead of reacting on impulse, snapping at someone, freezing in fear, or getting carried away by excitement, you pause and choose a response that serves you. This shift, from being controlled by emotions to steering your actions, is the heart of Stoic wisdom. It's about reclaiming your agency in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable. So, how do you actually put this into practice? It starts with self-awareness, the foundation of Stoic emotional mastery. Think of yourself as the captain of a ship, navigating a vast and sometimes stormy sea. Your emotions are the waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes towering, and your job is to steer the course without capsizing. The first step is recognizing those waves before they crash over you. This means tuning into the physical and mental signs of your emotions. Maybe it's a tight knot in your chest when someone frustrates you, a racing heartbeat before a big meeting, or a warm flush of excitement when something goes your way. These are your body's way of sounding the alarm, and learning to notice them is like developing an early warning system. It takes practice, lots of it, plus a healthy dose of patience and some quiet moments of introspection. You might start by setting aside a few minutes each day to check in with yourself. What am I feeling right now? What triggered it? What's my body telling me? Over time, this habit of self-observation becomes second nature, helping you spot emotional signals before they spiral out of control. Once you've identified the emotion, the next step is to pause. This is where the Stoics' emphasis on discipline comes in. That pause, whether it's a deep breath, a count to 10, or a quick mental step back, create space between the emotion and your response. It's like hitting the brakes before you speed off a cliff. In that moment of pause, you give your rational mind a chance to catch up with your emotional brain. Modern psychology backs this up. Studies show that even a brief pause can lower the intensity of an emotional reaction, giving you clearer headspace to decide what to do next. For example, imagine you're stuck in traffic and someone cuts you off, sending a surge of anger through you. Your first impulse might be to honk or yell, but if you pause and breathe, you create room to ask yourself, is this worth getting worked up over? Will reacting in anger change anything? More often than not, you'll realize it's not worth the energy, and you can let it go. After the pause comes the choice, your moment to steer the ship. The Stoics were adamant that while you can't control external events or the emotions they trigger, you can always control your response. This is encapsulated in one of Epictetus' most famous sayings, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Let's say you're nervous before a big presentation. You can't stop the butterflies in your stomach, but you can choose to channel that energy into preparation and focus, rather than letting it paralyze you. Or maybe you're upset after a disagreement with a friend. Instead of firing off a heated text, you can choose to wait, reflect, and approach the conversation with calm and clarity. These choices don't just help you feel better in the moment. They set you up for stronger relationships, sharper decisions, and a life that feels more intentional and authentic. This process, awareness, pause, choice, sounds straightforward, but it's not always easy. Emotions can be loud, and the world doesn't always give you a quiet moment to think. That's why the Stoics emphasized practice and repetition. They treated life as a training ground, using every challenge as an opportunity to strengthen their emotional resilience. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced constant stress and responsibility, wrote in his Meditations about reminding himself daily to stay calm and focused, no matter what came his way. You can adopt the same mindset by treating small emotional triggers as practice runs. The annoyance of a delayed flight, the frustration of a technical glitch, the excitement of a new opportunity, these are all chances to hone your ability to pause and choose wisely. The benefits of this Stoic approach go far beyond just feeling calmer. When you master your reactions, you start to notice a ripple effect in your life. Relationships improve because you're less likely to say something you'll regret in the heat of the moment. Decision-making becomes sharper because you're not clouded by impulsive emotions. You begin to feel more in control, not because you've eliminated life's challenges, but because you've learned to navigate them with purpose. It's like building a mental muscle. The more you practice, the stronger you get. The Stoics didn't promise a life free of storms, and neither does this approach. Emotions will always be part of the human experience, and that's a good thing. They add color, depth, and meaning to our lives. But by embracing the Stoic secret of mastering your reactions, you can learn to ride those waves instead of being swept away. It's about becoming the captain of your own ship, steering through life's ups and downs with clarity and confidence. So, the next time an emotion hits, whether it's anger, fear, or joy, take a page from the Stoics. Pause, breathe, and choose. That's where your power lies, and it's a power that can transform your life. Changing the story. How judgments shape your emotions. Let's dive into one of the most fascinating insights from the Stoics. Pause for a second and let this sink in. They believed our emotions don't just spring up out of thin air like uninvited guests. Instead, they're born from the stories we tell ourselves about the world around us. These stories, or judgments, are the lenses through which we interpret every event, big or small. They shape how we feel, how we react, and ultimately, how we navigate life. To break it down, imagine you're in a meeting and someone interrupts you mid-sentence. A flare of anger surges through you.
Why?
Because in that split second, your mind spins a story. They interrupted me because they don't respect me. They're trying to undermine me. That judgment fuels your anger, making your heart race and your fists clench. But what if you changed the story? What if you told yourself, maybe they're just excited about the idea and didn't realize they cut me off, or perhaps they're distracted and didn't mean anything by it? Suddenly, that anger might soften into understanding or even amusement. The Stoics were onto something revolutionary here. It's not about denying what you feel, but questioning the assumptions behind it. By reshaping the narrative, you can transform your emotional experience. This isn't just philosophy, it's a practical tool for taking back control of your inner world. The Stoics weren't just theorizing in ivory towers, they lived this wisdom in the messiness of real life. Take Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced relentless challenges, political intrigue, wars, betrayal, and even a devastating plague that swept through his empire. His life was a pressure cooker, yet he remained remarkably grounded. In his personal writings, known as Meditations, he reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength." This wasn't just a catchy phrase, it was his lifeline. Marcus understood that the chaos of the world didn't have to dictate his inner peace. By focusing on his judgments, how he interpreted events, he could choose responses that aligned with his values, like wisdom, patience, and justice. His ability to reframe his perspective allowed him to lead with clarity and compassion, even under unimaginable stress. Then there's Epictetus, whose life story is nothing short of inspiring. Born a slave, he endured hardship most of us can't imagine, yet he emerged as one of the most influential Stoic philosophers. Epictetus taught that it's not things that upset us, but our judgment about things. This idea is the cornerstone of Stoic emotional resilience. Whether it's a rude comment, a missed promotion, or a traffic jam, the event itself doesn't cause your distress, it's the story you attach to it. For example, if you miss a deadline and tell yourself, "I'm a failure who can't do anything right," you're likely to feel shame or despair. But if you reframe it as, "I missed this deadline because I took on too much, and I can learn to prioritize better," the emotion shifts to something more constructive, like determination. Epictetus' life proved this principle. Despite his lack of control over his external circumstances, he found freedom by mastering his internal narrative. This Stoic insight is liberating because it puts the power back in your hands. That initial flash of emotion, the anger, fear, or excitement, might hit hard and fast. It's automatic, wired into your brain's survival system. But what happens next is up to you. After that first wave, you can pause, reflect, and question the judgment behind it. Is this story I'm telling myself accurate? Is it helpful? Does it serve me? Often, you'll find that your knee-jerk interpretation is exaggerated or incomplete. That coworker's interruption might not be about disrespect at all. That missed opportunity might not define your worth. By challenging these assumptions, you can rewrite the narrative and, in turn, reshape your emotional response. It's like editing a script before it goes live. You can't stop the show, but you can make it a better story. So, how do you put this into practice? It starts with building a habit of self-awareness, which the Stoics emphasized through constant reflection. Step 1 is to catch yourself in the moment an emotion arises. Notice the physical signs. Maybe your jaw tightens, your stomach churns, or your heart races. These are clues that a judgment has been made. Step 2 is to pause. This brief interruption, whether it's a deep breath, a sip of water, or a mental hold on, creates space to examine your thoughts. Step 3 is to identify the story. Ask yourself, what am I telling myself about this situation? Write it down if you can, or just articulate it in your mind. For instance, if you're upset because a friend didn't reply to your text, you might realize you're thinking, "They're ignoring me because they don't care." Step 4 is to challenge that story. Look for alternative explanations. Could they be busy? Might their phone have died? Is there evidence they don't care, or is this an assumption? Finally, choose a new narrative that's more balanced and constructive, like, they're probably caught up with something, and I'll check in later. This process, notice, pause, identify, challenge, reframe, takes practice, but it's like building a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger you get. Start with small moments, like minor annoyances or fleeting worries. Maybe you're frustrated because your coffee order was wrong. Instead of stewing in irritation, pause and ask, what's the story here? This barista is incompetent. Try reframing it, they're swamped and made a mistake. It's just coffee. Over time, you'll find it easier to apply this to bigger challenges, like conflicts at work or personal setbacks. The Stoics practiced this daily, using every experience as a chance to refine their judgments. Marcus Aurelius, for instance, would reflect each evening on his reactions, asking how he could improve tomorrow. The payoff of this practice is immense. By changing your stories, you don't just manage your emotions, you transform your relationships, your decisions, and your sense of self. You become less reactive, more empathetic, and more resilient. You start to see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to grow. This doesn't mean you'll never feel angry, sad, or anxious again. Emotions are part of being human, and the Stoics embrace them as such. But by mastering your judgments, you can ensure those emotions don't run the show. You'll find a sense of freedom, knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you have the power to shape your inner world. The Stoics' wisdom reminds us that life is less about what happens and more about how we interpret it. So, the next time an emotion flares up, take a page from Marcus and Epictetus. Pause, question your story, and rewrite it. In that act, you'll discover not just control, but a deeper kind of strength, one that lets you face the world with clarity, purpose, and peace. Practical magic, Stoic tools for everyday calm. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive into some practical Stoic magic. Pause for a moment and imagine applying ancient wisdom to your modern life. This isn't just dusty philosophy reserved for toga-wearing scholars. It's a set of actionable tools you can use right now to stay calm and grounded, no matter what life throws at you. The Stoics, thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, were masters at turning lofty ideas into everyday practices. They believed wisdom wasn't about abstract theorizing, it was about action, about living well in the messiness of the real world. Their techniques are like a mental toolkit, designed to help you navigate stress, setbacks, and even the small annoyances that can derail your day. Let's explore 3 of their most powerful tools: premeditatio malorum, reframing perception, and daily reflection, plus one final gem that ties it all together. These are your keys to finding calm in the chaos. First up is premeditatio malorum, a Latin term that sounds intimidating but is incredibly practical. It translates to premeditation of evils, which is just a fancy way of saying, imagine the worst-case scenario before it happens. Now, this isn't about being a pessimist or dwelling on doom and gloom. It's about mentally preparing for challenges so they don't catch you off guard. Think of it like a firefighter running drills before a real blaze. By visualizing potential problems and planning your response, you build a mental safety net. For example, before a big presentation, I've used this technique by picturing the worst, forgetting my lines, the projector failing, or the audience looking bored. Then, I'd rehearse how I'd handle each scenario, taking a deep breath to reset, switching to a backup plan, or cracking a light joke to re-engage the crowd. When the actual day arrived, I did stumble over a few words, but I stayed calm because I'd already walked through the fix in my mind. This tool works for anything: job interviews, tough conversations, even travel plans. By anticipating what could go wrong and deciding how you'll respond, you strip away the panic and replace it with confidence. Next, let's talk about perception, or how you choose to see the world. The Stoics believed that our emotions and reactions stem from our judgments about events, not the events themselves. If you see a problem as a towering, unbeatable monster, you're likely to feel overwhelmed or defeated. But if you reframe it as a challenge, a test of your resilience, patience, or creativity, you can approach it with purpose and even excitement. This shift in perspective is like flipping a switch in your mind. I've had days where a looming work deadline felt like the end of the world, with stress creeping in and my focus unraveling. But when I told myself, this is my chance to practice staying steady under pressure, the task transformed from a burden into an opportunity. Suddenly, I was tackling it with a sense of grit, not dread. Epictetus put it best: "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." By reframing obstacles as chances to grow, you not only manage your emotions, you turn life's bumps into stepping stones. Another powerful Stoic practice is daily reflection, a habit that's like having a personal coach in your pocket. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to look back on your actions and reactions. This isn't about beating yourself up or dwelling on mistakes, it's about learning and growing. Ask yourself, how did I handle that tough moment today? Did I let anger get the better of me? Could I have been kinder, wiser, or more patient? When I started doing this, I noticed patterns, like how I'd snap at small frustrations when I was tired. That awareness helped me catch myself in the moment and choose a better response next time. Marcus Aurelius used this practice religiously, writing in his meditations to reflect on his day and align his actions with his values. You don't need to write a novel. Even a quick mental review or a few jotted notes can work wonders. Over time, this habit sharpens your self-awareness and helps you fine-tune your responses, making you more deliberate in how you show up in the world. Now, for the final Stoic gem, the practice of focusing on what's in your control. This is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and a game-changer for everyday calm. The Stoics taught that life is full of things we can't control: other people's actions, unexpected setbacks, even the weather, but we always have power over our thoughts, choices, and attitudes. When you focus on what's within your control and let go of the rest, you free yourself from pointless worry. For instance, if you're nervous about a job interview, you can't control the interviewer's opinion, but you can control how well you prepare, how you present yourself, and how you handle rejection if it comes. By pouring your energy into those controllable elements, you reduce anxiety and build resilience. Seneca captured this beautifully: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This practice is like a mental filter, helping you stay calm by keeping your focus on what you can actually influence. These Stoic tools, premeditatio malorum, reframing perception, daily reflection, and focusing on what's in your control, are designed for everyday use, not just for major crises. They work for the small stuff: a rude coworker, a delayed flight, or a spilled coffee. They also scale up to life's bigger challenges: career changes, relationship conflicts, or personal losses. The beauty of these practices is their simplicity. You don't need special equipment or hours of free time, just a willingness to pause, reflect, and choose. Start small. Try premeditatio malorum before a stressful event, like imagining a tough conversation going south and planning your calm response. Reframe one annoyance today, like seeing a long grocery line as a chance to practice patience. Reflect tonight on one moment where you could have reacted better. And whenever you feel overwhelmed, ask, what can I control right now? Even small steps build momentum. The Stoics didn't promise a life without stress or struggle, but they offered something better: a way to face those challenges with clarity and strength. These tools are like practical magic, transforming how you experience the world. They don't eliminate emotions, they help you work with them, turning chaos into opportunities for growth. So, the next time life feels like it's testing you, channel your inner Stoic. Picture the worst and plan for it, reframe the problem as a chance to shine, reflect on your day with honesty, and focus on what you can control. With these practices, you'll find a kind of calm that's not just fleeting, it's built to last. The power of choice. Owning your response. Let's uncover the Stoics' greatest gift to us. Pause and let this sink in: the ultimate power, the power of choice. Life is like a dance floor, with events coming at you fast. Step, step, twirl, dip. Sometimes it's a smooth waltz, other times it's a chaotic breakdance. Your emotions, eager to join the rhythm, want to leap in with their own moves, pushing you to react on instinct. But here's the Stoic revelation: between what happens to you and how you respond, there's a small but mighty space. In that space lies your freedom. The Stoics, philosophers like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, taught that while you can't always pick the music life plays, rude comments, unexpected setbacks, or deep personal losses, you can always choose your steps. Whether it's shrugging off a snarky remark with a smile, facing a financial hit with a clear head, or handling grief with quiet grace, your response is yours to own. This power of choice is what defines your character, shapes your life, and sets you free. This idea was a game changer for me when I first encountered it. I used to let small slights, like a friend's offhand jab, derail my entire day. I'd stew in frustration, blaming them for my sour mood. But then I stumbled across the Stoic principle of focusing on my response, and it flipped the script. Instead of letting the sting take over, I started pausing and asking myself, how can I respond here? What choice aligns with who I want to be? Maybe I'd respond with understanding, recognizing my friend might be stressed, or maybe I'd let it go entirely, refusing to let a fleeting comment steal my peace. This isn't about ignoring the pain or pretending you're immune. It's about acknowledging the emotion and then deciding what to do with it. That shift, from reacting on autopilot to choosing deliberately, feels like unlocking a superpower. The Stoics were masters at wielding this power, and one of their champions, Seneca, had a brilliant way of strengthening it. He practiced what's called negative visualization, or rehearsing worst-case scenarios in his mind, not to wallow in fear, but to dull the shock if they ever came to pass. Imagine losing a job, facing a health scare, or enduring a betrayal. By mentally walking through these possibilities and planning his response, Seneca was like an athlete training for resilience. If the worst happened, he was ready, not blindsided. For example, before a high-stakes meeting, you might imagine the client rejecting your pitch or a colleague challenging you publicly. Then, decide how you'd handle it. Stay calm, listen actively, respond with confidence. This mental rehearsal is like weightlifting for your mind, building the strength to stay steady no matter what life throws at you. The key to unlocking this power of choice lies in a Stoic practice called prosoke, or mindful attention. It's about staying present in the moment and catching your emotional triggers before they spiral. Picture yourself as a watchtower guard, scanning the horizon for signs of trouble. That tightening in your chest when someone cuts you off in traffic? That's a trigger. The flush of anxiety before a big deadline? Another one. By noticing these signals early, you give yourself the chance to pause and choose your response. Without prosoke, you're like a ship tossed by waves, reacting on instinct. With it, you're the captain, steering with purpose. Developing this mindful attention takes practice. Start by checking in with yourself a few times a day. What am I feeling? What's sparking it? Over time, you'll spot triggers faster, creating that precious space to choose wisely. So, how do you make this power of choice stick? It's all about building daily habits that reinforce your ability to own your response. Let's explore a few Stoic-inspired practices you can weave into your routine. First, try a morning intention-setting ritual. Take a minute before your day begins to remind yourself, I can't control what happens, but I can control how I respond. Visualize a potential challenge, a tough conversation, a work setback, and decide how you'll handle it with calm and clarity. This sets the tone for intentionality. I've done this before busy days, and it's like putting on mental armor. Sudden stressors don't hit as hard. Second, practice the pause and reflect technique throughout the day. When an emotion flares, say, irritation at a coworker's comment, take a deep breath and create a mental gap. Ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself? Is this worth my energy? What response serves me best? This pause doesn't have to be long. Even a few seconds can shift you from reactive to deliberate. I've used this in heated moments, and it's amazing how a quick breath can turn a potential argument into a productive conversation. Third, end your day with Stoic reflection, a habit Marcus Aurelius swore by. Spend a few minutes reviewing your choices. How did I respond to challenges today? Did I let anger or fear take the wheel, or did I choose patience and wisdom? Celebrate the wins, and for the missteps, think about what you'd do differently next time. This isn't about self-criticism, it's about growth. When I started this, I noticed how often I reacted impulsively to small things, like a delayed email. That awareness helped me course-correct, making me more patient over time. These habits, morning intention, pausing to reflect, and evening review, build a framework for owning your response. They're not just for big crises, they work for life's everyday moments, like navigating a stressful commute or handling a family disagreement. The benefits ripple outward, leveling up your relationships, work, and mental toughness. In relationships, choosing understanding over anger can defuse conflicts and deepen trust. At work, responding with focus instead of panic can make you a problem solver, not a complainer. And mentally, this practice builds resilience, helping you bounce back from setbacks with greater ease. The Stoics didn't promise a life free of challenges or emotions. They knew the dance floor of life would always have its twists and turns. But they gave us the tools to move with grace, to choose our steps deliberately. Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius lived this truth, facing trials with a strength that came from within. You can too. By practicing Stoic and building daily habits, you'll harness the power of choice, turning that small space between stimulus and response into a place of freedom. So, the next time life spins you around, whether it's a snarky comment, a financial hit, or a moment of grief, pause, breathe, and choose. That's where your power lies, and it's a power that can transform not just your day, but your entire life. Daily habits. Building a Stoic life. Let's turn Stoic wisdom into something you can live and breathe. Pause for a moment and imagine shaping your days with intention. Knowing you have the power to choose your response is liberating, but making that choice second nature, that takes practice. The Stoics, thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, were all about building habits that transform ideas into action. They saw life as a training ground, where daily practices strengthen your mind and character. These habits aren't one-size-fits-all. They're flexible tools you can adapt to your life, whether you're navigating a hectic job, family chaos, or just the everyday grind. Let's dive into a toolkit of Stoic-inspired habits: mindfulness, emotional tracking, deliberate discomfort, visualization, intention setting, micro-decisions, gratitude, feedback, emotional detachment, and philosophical reading that can help you live stronger, wiser, and more at peace. Start with mindfulness, the foundation of Stoic awareness. Take 5 minutes each morning to simply be present. Sit quietly, focus on your breath, and let your thoughts drift by without clinging to them. It's like clearing the mental fog before a busy day. I've tried this, and it's remarkable how it sharpens your focus and calms your nerves. You don't need a meditation cushion or an hour, just a quiet corner and a few deep breaths. This practice, rooted in the Stoic concept of prosoke, mindful attention, helps you stay grounded and spot emotional triggers before they take over. Next, keep an emotional log. Think of it as a detective diary for your inner world. When a strong emotion hits, anger, anxiety, joy, jot down what sparked it, how you felt, and how you responded. For example, felt frustrated when a coworker ignored my idea. Snapped back, but wished I'd stayed calm. Reviewing this log weekly reveals patterns, like getting irritable when tired, and helps you plan better responses. I started doing this and noticed how often I reacted impulsively to small slights. That insight let me pause and choose differently next time. To build resilience, try voluntary discomfort. The Stoics practiced this to toughen their minds, and it's surprisingly effective. Take a cold shower, skip a snack when you're peckish, or walk instead of driving in chilly weather. I've braved cold showers, and while the initial shock is intense, it teaches you to stay composed when life gets uncomfortable. This isn't about masochism, it's about proving to yourself that you can handle hardship with grace, whether it's a freezing shower or a stressful deadline. Visualization is another Stoic gem, inspired by premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. Spend a few minutes each day imagining a challenging scenario, say, a work disagreement or a missed deadline, and picture yourself handling it with calm, kindness, or courage. I've visualized turning a work spat into a collaborative solution, and when a real conflict arose, I was ready to listen instead of argue. This mental rehearsal preps you for the real deal, reducing anxiety and boosting confidence. Set a daily intention to guide your actions. Each morning, pick a virtue to focus on, like patience, courage, or kindness. Write it down or say it aloud. Today, I'll practice patience. Let this intention shape your choices, from how you handle a long queue to how you respond to a grumpy colleague. I've chosen kindness before, and it's amazing how it ripples out, softening interactions and lifting my mood. This habit, drawn from Stoic emphasis on living with purpose, keeps you aligned with your values. Don't overlook micro-decisions, the small choices that add up. Every email you write, every tone you use, every moment you choose to listen instead of interrupt builds your character. The Stoics believed excellence lies in the details. For example, crafting a thoughtful response to a frustrating email instead of a curt one strengthens your self-control. I've focused on these tiny moments, and over time, they've made me more deliberate in bigger decisions too. End your day with a gratitude slam. Name 3 things you're thankful for: a good meal, a laugh with a friend, or even just a moment of quiet. This practice, inspired by Stoic reflections on life's impermanence, shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. I've done this on rough days, and it's like hitting reset. Suddenly, the world feels brighter. It doesn't erase problems, but it balances your perspective and boosts your emotional resilience. Seek feedback weekly from a trusted friend or colleague. Humble yourself and ask, how did I come across this week? Any blind spots? I've done this, and it's eye-opening. Friends pointed out when I seemed distracted or short-tempered, helping me adjust. The Stoics valued self-improvement through honest critique, and this habit keeps you accountable and growth-focused. Practice splitting emotions from actions. When a strong emotion surges, name it, I'm angry, and pause before acting. This creates space to choose a response that aligns with your goals, not your impulses. For instance, if a rude comment stings, acknowledge the hurt, then decide to respond with curiosity, what's going on with them, instead of a jab. I've used this in tense moments, and it's turned potential conflicts into understanding. This habit reflects the Stoic principle that while emotions are natural, your actions are within your control. Finally, dip into philosophical reading daily. Spend a few minutes with Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, Epictetus' Discourses, or Seneca's Letters. These texts are like a shot of inspiration, packed with timeless wisdom. I keep a copy of Meditations by my bed and read a passage each night. It's like a mentor's advice before sleep. Even a single quote, like Epictetus, you have power over your mind, not outside events, can reframe your day. If ancient texts feel heavy, modern Stoic writers like Ryan Holiday are great entry points. These habits, mindfulness, emotional logging, voluntary discomfort, visualization, intention setting, micro-decisions, gratitude, feedback, emotional detachment, and philosophical reading, aren't just tasks to check off. They're a toolkit for building a Stoic life, one where you're not tossed around by emotions or events. They take effort, especially at first, but start small. Pick one or two habits, like a morning intention and an evening gratitude slam, and build from there. Consistency is key. The Stoics saw life as a marathon, not a sprint. What does it all mean? These habits weave together to create a life of purpose, resilience, and inner peace. They don't shield you from challenges. Stoics' new life is unpredictable, but they equip you to face them with clarity and strength. Relationships deepen because you're more patient and present. Work improves because you're focused and deliberate. Your mental toughness grows because you've trained to handle discomfort and choose wisely. I've seen this in my own life. Practicing these habits has made me less reactive, more empathetic, and more grounded, even on chaotic days. The Stoics believed that a good life isn't about avoiding pain or chasing pleasure. It's about living with virtue, no matter the circumstances. These daily habits are your path to that life. They're not magic in the flashy sense, but in the quiet, transformative way they shape you over time. So, start today. Pick a habit, lean into it, and watch how it builds a stronger, wiser, more peaceful you. That's the Stoic way, and it's a way worth living. Living the Stoic way. Your journey to resilience. We've journeyed far together. Pause for a moment and feel the weight of that shared path. I hope you're buzzing with energy to take charge of your emotions and shape a life of strength and purpose. Stoicism isn't about dodging life's punches or hiding from its challenges. It's about stepping boldly into the ring, armed with a plan to face whatever comes. By mastering your reactions, reframing the stories you tell yourself, and weaving Stoic habits into your daily life, you're not just surviving, you're building a resilience that lets you shine, even in the toughest moments. I felt this transformation myself, letting a coworker's sharp comment slide without ruining my day, choosing kindness over a heated argument, or finding a quiet peace amid life's chaos. These small victories add up, forging a version of you that's tougher, wiser, and truer to who you want to be. This Stoic path is a journey, not a sprint. There's no finish line where you suddenly become immune to setbacks or emotions. Instead, every step, every pause before reacting, every reframed perspective, every mindful choice, strengthens your foundation. The beauty of Stoicism lies in its practicality. It's not about chasing perfection, but about progress. Maybe you start by catching yourself before snapping in frustration, or you take a moment to name 3 things you're grateful for at the end of a rough day. These acts, inspired by thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, are like bricks in a fortress of resilience. I've seen it in my own life. A daily gratitude habit turned my focus from stress to abundance, and pausing to question my anger during a conflict opened the door to understanding. These aren't just coping tools, they're ways to live more fully, more authentically. Thank you for joining me on this Stoic adventure. It means everything to have you here, growing alongside me, ready to tackle life with courage and clarity. This isn't the end, it's a beginning. To keep exploring, check out the suggested videos or dive into Stoic texts like meditations or discourses for more wisdom. Let's keep transforming together, one choice at a time. Live with courage, choose with wisdom, and let these ancient lessons guide you toward a life that's not just endured, but embraced, full, free, and uniquely yours. Until we meet again, stay strong, stay true to yourself, and carry this Stoic spark forward. I'll see you soon.